Up next, we have Mishaal Khan, Phishing with Caricatures.
Well, welcome. Thank you for having me today at PancakesCon. Today's topic is a little hodgepodge of things, but it's interesting. These are two fields of expertise that I really enjoy and I really like doing. One of them is phishing. I'm a social engineer. I'm a pen tester. I do a lot of things. Phishing is one of the things that's an art, and with that, caricatures, another art form that I heavily enjoy practicing in my spare time. So I'll be going through both of them and connecting the two together. First and foremost, my profession. What do I do? How do I do it? I'll take you through some of the phishing life cycles that I go through. And then in a similar scenario, I'll dissect some of the process, the workflow that a caricature requires. A little bit about me for those of you who don't know me. I wear many hats. I'm an ethical hacker. I do a lot of pen testing. I do a lot of advisory work. On the left, you see all my official titles. On the right is what my friends and family members often refer to me as. Sometimes I wear my tinfoil hat when I talk about privacy. I do a lot of OSINT investigations. By heart, I'm a network guy. I'm a network geek. I do coding as well. So I'm a bit all over the place. I have this sort of passion for technology. But today, what I'll go through is a process of phishing. Now, phishing is not just sending out an email and hoping for someone to click on it. It requires a lot of process, a lot of thinking through the different elements, why people click, what influences them to click on a phish, what's a good phish versus a bad phishing attempt. So here are some of the steps for a successful phishing attack. You have to start off with open source intelligence. That is the heart of any attack, whether it's a pen test or a phishing attack. You have to do your research, your reconnaissance. Once you have enough information about the target, that's when you start attack. I should pause here and preface this. I am contracted by companies to do a phishing attack. It is not legal to just go around phishing anyone for their credentials. We do this professionally. Companies hire us, sign a contract to phish either a subset of their employees or all of the employees, collect data, statistics, who clicked, how many people submitted credentials, how many people reported. It's all about education, all about making the process better. So it's weird because I have to win in this. I have to make people click. At the same time, once I'm done, I have to devise methods on how not to click on a phishing attack, how this could have been prevented. And that's the advisory piece of my job. So start with open source intelligence. Formulate your social engineering plan. What are you going to pretend to be? What does your phishing email look like? Craft the phishing email. Craft a landing page. What happens when they click on it? What happens when they submit their credentials? Where do they get redirected? If you don't think these things through, you could make mistakes, and then it could end up looking like a phishing attack. You don't want it to look like that. You want it to look legitimate. You don't want any clues left behind. For example, if in your research you find out that the company uses, let's say, UPS as their carrier, but you send out a phishing email that says FedEx, you have a message from FedEx, no one's going to fall for that, or at least we hope no one's going to fall for that. But that's not a good phishing attack because you didn't do your OSINT work up front. Then you have to have a system of tracking these statistics. You have to have a system of reporting, a method where people can report back and say, aha, we caught this phishing attack. How do you report on those things? I'll show you in the next slide. Then comes the phase, okay, the phishing attack is over. Now you need to identify the gaps. Were there technology gaps? Did the phishing go through their spam filter? If not, why? Why not? How can you fix that? Then what about the human defenses? Why did people fall for this? Do they need more educational training, videos, more scenarios, more phishing simulations? You have to suggest something to the client in a report, and then rinse and repeat. So I'm not a PowerPoint guy. I only have a few PowerPoint slides here. So I'll stop right here and show you the back end of what a phishing attack really looks like. To start off with, you need to set up a bunch of servers. So I've set up this on Google Cloud. It's called GoPhish. It's my phishing server of choice. There are many out there. This is free, open source. You have to set it up, fine tune it. I've done that here. My server is running. This is what the server looks like. I go to the GoPhish dashboard and I see a bunch of statistics over here on what's going on, how many people clicked, emails sent, and all these things. These are statistics from previous attempts. I can go in here and start setting things up, but before I do that, you need a second server to get things running, an email server, and you need a domain. So the domain name that I bought for this example is verification.com. The verification doesn't have an I in there, so it's verificaton.com. But as we all know, who really checks the spellings in an email? In a bit, I'll show you how this really looks like. But this is how most phishing attacks are done. My goal is not to spoof an email. Spoofing is mimicking someone else's corporate email address. That surely will get blocked. I don't even try that. I just buy a brand new one because people are not looking at the domain. But nonetheless, this is my server for my mail. So this is the mail server that's running. I don't use services for this because most services like Mailgun and so many others, they all get blocked. So I set up my own. This is what the mail server looks like. This is mailinthebox.com or similar. And it's just showing me simple statistics on the backend. Once I have my two servers up and running, I can start my attack. So my attack starts with a campaign. So let's look at some of my email templates. First things first, you have to formulate a template. Let's just look at one of my existing templates here. So a template would be in HTML. I would code it in HTML. I would look at how it views. I would send a bunch of test emails back and forth. This is an Amazon phishing email with a $50 gift card in it. And I can put whatever I want here. And this would be how the email would be sent. Then you have landing pages and stuff. Let me go through an actual process. So let's go through a campaign, a live campaign. Hopefully this works. Let's copy this. So what I'll do is I'll start this campaign. You name it something. Let's call it PancakesCon to LinkedIn demo. I have an email template that I've created, which you will see in a bit. I have a landing page, a fake LinkedIn page comes up. This is the URL that comes up. So I can put anything before the main domain that I like. So since this is for LinkedIn, I'll put linkedin.verification.com because this is what they'll see when they hover over it. I have a sending profile, which is my email profile, the email server that I set up. All the SMTP details are in there. And I have groups. So let's make a test group here. I have a test group with a fake account that I have by the name of Adam. This is my sock puppet account. So I'll send it to that. And I do launch campaign. Are you sure? Yes. Let's launch it. So campaign has been launched. Ideally, I would put in here a couple of hundred emails provided by the client themselves, and this would now go out. Since this is just one email, now I start seeing statistics in the backend. This is what I'm after. I see one email was sent, nobody opened it, no one clicked it, and no one submitted any data. Here are the details of that. So now let's go and check that email. Did I really receive that email? So here is mail.com. This is where that person is. So I just got an email, LinkedIn security alert. This is that phishing email. Now let's look at it real quick. On the surface, it looks fine. Hey, Adam, you have successfully turned on two-step verification. That's a good thing. Everyone should have it turned on. But if you haven't and you get this message, it means someone else has. So it raises a few flags. At the same time, it looks quite legit. Everything's mimicked as LinkedIn would send you. There's no spelling mistakes. Hopefully not. I copy pasted an actual email. There's no alignment mistakes or anything. So this looks perfect. These things are edited out so that it raises some alerts that somebody was using Firefox, Linux from Moscow, Russia, and a date that's not accurate. These things should raise a few red flags. And the moment they click on something, I hover over this and nothing kind of comes up. You can see in the bar below a little link that says linkedin.verification.com and stuff like that. It kind of looks legit. Let's check who it's from. It's from LinkedIn Security Alert. And the email address is also linkedin@verification.com. Kind of looks legit. It's not one of those .ru.cn.v, whatever weird looking domains. So at first glance, it looks quite legit. I click on this. And if this was another mail server, it would have just gone through mail.com, redirects it first. So it's redirecting, and it came to my phishing page here. Now, before yeah, go ahead.
Just one quick second. It looks like your screen share may have paused for us.
Oh, really?
Perhaps you could jiggle that.
Let me stop sharing and reshare again. I've noticed sometimes that happens with Zoom.
Yeah, yeah. But hey, what's a conference without a technical issue or two?
Let me know when you see it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll have a look and see if the chat sees it.
Nope, nothing yet.
Several people are typing.
Uh-huh.
No, it doesn't look like it's showing on their end.
Uh-oh.
No, we just see Go Fish, not the email.
When did it pause last?
I think it was.
It should come back in a bit.
Here, why don't we try something real quick from my end?
Should I share again?
Yes, give it a shot. Apparently, it had been stuck on the Go Fish console.
Okay. Let me know if you see it. Mine, it says you are sharing your screen.
Oh, there we go. We have Go Fish again.
All right, let me stop my video. Maybe that was it. All right, so yeah, let me go back just a few clicks. So this was the Go Fish screen here. I received an email in the inbox, which was right here. I look at it, quick 5-second glance. I click on it. When I click on it, the landing page comes up. Now, all of this is being hosted from GoFish. I see the bar up there, linkedin.verification.com/ some random characters. Now, before I click through, let's go back to the GoFish screen. And it says email opened 1, email clicked 1. So these are live statistics being gathered. And if I refresh this, it's fine. So it says clicked from a Windows machine using Firefox. I'm on a Mac. This is not Windows, but I have a user agent switcher here, which says mimic a Windows machine with Firefox. That's why it's showing this. I thought I'd demo that as well. Good OPSEC is always preferred. So that's why this is showing that. Let's change that user agent to default. And let's go back to this LinkedIn screen here. Now I could enter in my actual password here, which is from my password manager. It's like 40, 50 characters long, and it would redirect. But just for the heck of it, let's enter something random. So I'm entering a random password and I click sign in. and I've basically been redirected to the actual LinkedIn page. Now it says linkedin.com, and here's my two-step verification page. I look at it, everything looks right. And I'm actually signed in because I was previously signed into this Sock Puppet account. I can go back to the actual LinkedIn page. Everything's fine. Nothing's really wrong. I can continue with my daily life after this. But if I look back here and I refresh this, it's already here. It says submitted data, one person submitted data. I go back. Remember, I changed it from Windows to default. Now it says Mac OS. So I know my user agent switcher is working. I look at the details. I captured the username and I captured the password. This is what I just entered in randomly. And now this is a full end-to-end phishing cycle. Phishing basically stops at this point. Once I run this through for a week or so, everyone gets a chance to click it or not, or report it. If someone reports an email, I can manually put that in here. These statistics, this data goes in the report. The client gets to see this, and then the remediation piece starts. We start resetting passwords of people who actually submitted it. We get to see if the passwords were too weak, were they long enough. Many different things could come out of this. Education is the main thing here. So those are the things we want to go over with our client, and this is an end-to-end phishing lifecycle. And that's what I basically do. This is fun. This requires a lot of backend work, a lot of reconnaissance. Where did I learn all of this? My primary resource, the one thing I would tell people who want to learn how to fish right, is a book by Chris Hadnagy, Phishing Dark Waters. It goes through all the techniques, whether it's a beginner phishing email, intermediary, advanced spear phishing or whaling type of emails, the tools, the tricks of the trades, influence versus manipulation. What are we really doing here? This was more influence tactics because nobody got offended, nobody felt manipulated with a gift card or those type of things. We just got in, got their credentials, no one noticed it, and we were out. So I highly recommend this book by Christopher Hadnagy, Phishing Dark Waters, if you want to really up your game on the phishing arena. That's what I had with this. Now, a lot of this is very stressful, and a lot of work goes into this, programming, OSINT, pen testing, all these things. In my spare time, I like to draw. I like to relax, something that takes my mind away from all my technical stuff that I do. So recently, I picked up caricatures. I'm not good at caricatures. I'm a good artist, I want to say. I draw realistic or lifestyle and cartoons, pretty much everything. Now I have kids, so I draw a lot of cartoons with them, spend some time there. But caricatures were something that I wasn't ever good at, but I wanted to up my game there as well. The main focus on caricatures was not about drawing what you see. It's drawing likeness. It's not about exaggerating. It's not about distortions or magnifications like we think, making the nose big or the head big or small or whatever. It's not that at all. It's actually just the likeness. And the focus is on differences rather than similarities. And that's what was kind of unique to caricatures, because I draw similarities. What I see, I draw. That's real life portraits. But caricatures, no, that's based on differences. And I wrote a small article on caricatures on LinkedIn. Like you see this image of Slash drawn by Tom Richmond, and there's not even a face in this. And that's what blew my mind. I'm like, wow, the caricatures I thought was all about faces, but there's no face. It's just the presence of the person. You can tell that this is Slash. And then people started drawing me in that class that I took. And you can see every single drawing is different. It's unique, but most of them, if not all of them, kind of look like me. You can pick me out from a group if you see any one of these caricatures, but they're all different. None of them are realistic, but they all have a unique characteristics. So with that, I said, okay, let me start drawing caricatures. On my LinkedIn account, on my Instagram account, I started drawing different caricatures of famous people. I record the process. I go over Procreate and on my iPad, and I start drawing. And it's fun, but it's not easy at all. This takes several attempts to get it right. And it's easy to draw well-known personalities. It's easy to draw when you look at other caricatures, but it's challenging. At the same time, the end result, when you see it, it's fun. So I started taking this up. So my best thing in this was, I'm like, okay, who should I draw for today's conference? So I took Chris Hadnagy, Fishing Dark Waters. I said, let's draw him as a caricature. So I need reference photographs. So I met him a few times. I took his classes, and so I had pictures of him. So I took these two pictures, images, and I put them in my iPad, and I started drawing. Caricatures start off with uh, a rough head sketch. Basically, you have to get the idea of what am I going to emphasize in this caricature. So for this, I saw a bigger lower half of the face than the upper half, and perspective can vary in this. So I started drawing this out, and this is a time-lapse drawing. Then you start to map out where the main features would be, the nose-eye relationship, the mouth, everything else, and you start building it from there on. And drawing somebody when they're looking straight at you is more difficult. I'm not an expert at this, but the 3/4 view is always much better because all the features kind of pop out. When you're looking somebody straight on, none of the features are popping out. They all look flat. So you have to use a lot of imagination. So as you can see, I tried many attempts at this, and that's the key to this. You have to keep drawing over and over and over again until you are satisfied, until the person kind of looks like the person that you're drawing, and not just to you. I had to ask my wife a few times, does this look like this person? And she's like, nah, not really. Then I had to redraw it over and over. And you can see every time I'm drawing the face, I'm changing something about the the features that I see. Sometimes I make the lower half bigger, I make the nose smaller, the eyes bigger, more squint in them, the face, the mouth, the style that he's smiling. Things change up, and there's something sensitive about drawing caricatures. That's why I didn't draw them for a very long time. People tend to get offended if you draw their nose too big, or themselves too fat, too thin, too tall, to whatever. But I know Chris is a nice guy. He's hopefully not going to get offended by all the screw ups that I'm doing right now. But hey, this is part of it. This is the fun part. You get a good laugh out of this. So as I'm trying different ways, you can see all my failures at the bottom. I keep them next to me so I know what to adjust. I look at all the rest and I say, okay, the chin here looks nice. I'll take the chin from this one. I'll take the eyes from the other one. Then I'll redraw it. So I keep redrawing it. And this is all practice. If I was a pro like Tom Richmond, who I learned this from, it would take me one shot to get it perfectly right. But certain times you see I purposely screw up because I want to stretch it. I want to take it to the limits and see which one feature really defines the presence of this person. So I keep drawing him over and over, and then eventually I'm satisfied with one, and then I stick to it. I say, okay, this is the one. Let me forward on a little bit, and then I start tracing over the one that I like, and this becomes my final caricature piece. Once I'm done with this, I'm satisfied with the head. Now I move on to the rest of it, the body. So the way I do this, let's go over this one first. So I take one of my own references because I want to see how I can draw clothes, which clothes suit him, a suit, tie, or just a t-shirt. So I experiment with it a little bit. I first put on a t-shirt on him, then I try a suit. I try different things, then I stick to one of them. And it's fun to watch progression because you learn from your own mistakes. By no means am I an expert in this, but again, this is for fun. This is not professional. This is not competitive for me by any means. And drawing on an iPad is good because you can undo your mistakes. So I keep drawing him over and over. And as you can clearly see, you have to be good at many things: sketching, line art, drawing clothes, bodies, faces, hands. And look at this hand, it's horrible. The fist doesn't look like the right hand. So I redraw hands. It's an art again. So I change the position around a little bit. Once I'm satisfied, I move on to the next sketch. So with this, I'm like, okay, let's place a bunch of USBs here and there because that's what social engineers do. They drop USBs every now and then, hoping that someone would pick them up and put them in a computer. So I go through this process. I readjust my drawings, the shoes and everything back and forth. And once I'm satisfied with this, I go to the next phase. I start drawing things around him. So I draw a bunch of USBs, I drop them on the floor, I try to draw the background, give this area some presence, some sense of where he's standing, maybe a parking lot with some zebra crossing or whatever. And once I'm done with that, I finish up the drawing and do some line art on this. So I start drawing it with a pen, a digital pen, and this will be my final artwork. So a lot of USB drops. And one last video that I'll show you is how I actually do this. The way someone would see me draw is basically on an iPad. I turn things around, I draw it in short strokes, different motions, and this is the entire process of how I would go about drawing anything from beginning to end, starting with a rough sketch, refinement, then line art, and then eventually I would color it as well. But that's what I like to do in the little spare time that I may have. I may take this one step further, which I didn't in this case. I can color him, but he looks terrible here. Not him, but my coloring looks terrible. So I would leave it to this. This would be my final artwork here. All right. So that's all I had. Any questions you see in the chat?
Yes, we have several questions. Let me just go ahead and scroll back up a little bit here. Let's see. A lot of people talking about how, oh, I hate this. It looks so good with reference to your phishing, although I suppose that might work with the caricature too, given some of the feedback there.
I'll take it for the caricature.
Let's look for the actual, here we go. Alex is off asking, when it comes to internal phishing tests, what is your position on them? Should one deploy the same tactics and templates they would use elsewhere to test internal users?
Good question. I get this every time from a client. I say run your internal phishing campaigns. I consider those at best basic or intermediary style phishing campaigns because those are pre-built templates. Those are the most popular ones out there. They don't require a lot of OSINT and a lot of background work. You may put some into it, but at the end of the day, they're still basic to intermediary style phishing attacks. You need a perspective from the outside, a professional trained social engineer to do those phishing attacks, a pen tester. Because when I do phishing attacks, my purpose is to get in. It's not to educate. I say this is a pen test. This is not educational. Yeah, a part of it may be educational, but my job is to mimic a hacker and get in. You cannot achieve that internally unless your employees who are doing it are pen testers or have gone through some social engineering training to do it. I do this for really large organizations and they have teams internally and they're like, okay, we're set, we're done. I come in and do the attack and I almost every single time I get through, all I need is one or two people. Basically, all I need is one person to submit credentials and I'm in. So I say do both, have a tiered approach, internal and external, but don't forget the external.
Fantastic. From Golgotha's here, we've got a question as to whether you've attended the Human Hacking Conference.
I didn't get a chance to go there yet. but I would have loved to. I've taken courses by Chris Hadnagy, the social engineering pen test, so I'm certified by him with that. But I would have loved to be part of the Human Hacking Conference. I just didn't get the opportunity.
All right. So switching it up a little bit, when drawing caricatures of people you actually know, have you had someone unhappy with how they were represented?
No, I haven't. And that's the fear of caricatures that I always had. So I never drew anyone that I knew in fears that they would look at it and say, hey, I look so ugly, or you made me look so, I don't know, whatever. I just don't like bad comments, feedbacks, and then they look at me in a bad light. So I draw celebrities and stuff, people I'll probably never meet. So I, I play it safe with caricatures.
Nothing wrong with that. Let's see. We have commentary. People like the USB drop aspect of the one that you have on screen right now. Uh, Pineapples represent Chris pretty well, apparently. And let's take a look if I missed any. And da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, I did. Uh, well, this person earlier asked, is using homoglyphs cheating in your phishing?
No, not really. Homoglyphs won't work every time. Sometimes they'll look like weird characters. They'll expand to be some long characters and stuff. The focus should never be on the domain itself, particularly. The focus should be on 5, 6 different aspects of it. Sometimes I hide my domain by putting it in the name field. So if it says from LinkedIn security and in brackets, it'll say LinkedIn at verification.com. I'll put in LinkedIn security and then some fake brackets having, whatever, no reply at linkedin.com. And then the actual email will be hidden inside those parentheses. Again, people won't look that there are 2 different emails in the header, and it'll fool them. So I've given up on spoofing emails, on trying to um, you know to combat some of the technical controls. I just focus on bypassing the human aspect of this, the human controls. I know the eyes will glance for just a few seconds on an email. That's how I see it. I've clicked on them too. Everyone can and will fall for it at some time. So if you focus on 5, 6 different elements on the phishing attack, 1 or 2 people may fail, but I wouldn't focus on just the domain piece of this. There are many ways to evade the human firewall.
So I'm going to be a little bit evil here and indulge myself as a blue teamer and ask you, what has frustrated you the most? What has caused failures the most in your workflow with respect to phishing?
I don't fail a lot, but no, joking aside. But usually, sometimes it's the email filters that get in the way. And they have really strong email protection. They'll have multiple products in place, and they'll prevent the email from going through because the email will be flagged as fishy or spammy. So what I'll do is I'll have multiple attempts at those, and I'll figure out why it was spammed, why it was marked as spam. Was it the domain? Sometimes the domain is brand new, so I buy old domains, I let them age, and then it goes through. Or maybe the subject line was LinkedIn security. If I change that to your password or your account has been compromised, that doesn't seem as fishy as the first one, and then it'll go through. So it depends on what the email security is using to identify them. Once I figure that out, back and forth, it takes me 5, 6 emails, then I'm in. And if I'm still not in, then I ask the client, can you please whitelist this email, because fine, your technical controls passed, now let me test your human controls. So then they end up whitelisting it. And when it goes down to the human controls, I don't think I've ever failed in the past couple of hundred attempts. Someone always clicks on something, and there's at least a small percent, 2 to 3% people who will actually submit credentials, and that's what I'm after.
And so following up just a little bit, uh, do you have any particular ethical considerations with regards to the lures that you might use?
In regards to what, sorry?
The lures that you might use, the
Oh, the
subject
lures.
lines, that kind of things.
No, because I don't use malicious subject lines. So remember, I talked about influence versus manipulation. I didn't talk
Hmm.
about it much, but so my job is to influence them into clicking on a link, which is kind of positive in nature. It's not to trick them, to fool them nefariously, so which may end up making them feel bad. So it's not about a $50 gift card. I'll never send anything about money, anything about health issues, or someone died, or someone resigned, or you're fired, or something evil or mean that will leave a bad impression in their heart. Because at the end of the day, they're going to find out it was me or my company that did it, and our name or my name is going to get tarnished, that hey, you did something evil that wasn't nice of you. I never want that feedback. So in my report, I write that I'm going to use a very small subset of phishing lures, which are common amongst the wild, and they're not as dangerous. But I also say the hackers will not be limited to this. The hackers will do whatever it is in their heart that they desire to just get through, and they will use evil, nefarious ways. So there's a lot of things I cannot do. I cannot mimic law enforcement. I cannot hurt someone's feelings. And so I have to be cognizant of that because, hey, at the end of the day, I am an ethical hacker. I'm not just a hacker.
Fantastic, and I'm glad that you were able to address that so cogently. Someone actually was just asking that in the channel as you were speaking, so I'm sure they'll get that in just a second when that propagates.
Mhm.
Let's see. We'll just wait for just a second to see if anyone else is going to submit a question. But now it looks like we're about done with those. So thank you very, very much for your presentation. I'm sure we've all had a great time and have yourself a really great rest of your day. And I hope you've enjoyed PancakesCon so far.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.